Hey, and welcome to Financial Confidence. I'm your host, Lynn Demmons, and we appreciate you for joining us here at WYTV7, Christian Broadcasters Network. You're listening to episode 103. We want to thank you so much for joining us for this episode, guys, and we want to remind you of the guiding principle for this show, which is Matthew 6:33. But seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. We also implore that you pray over your finances so you can do the things that you're called to do to build generational wealth and leave an inheritance for the children, for your children's children. So if you will, guys, commit this simple prayer to memory and bow with me. Lord, help us to value things in this world that's really valuable. That's our relationship with you, our lives, and our families. Help make us responsible stewards of your financial resources, and let us trust your holy word. Eternal glory, thy son Jesus, in his name we pray. Amen. Guys, we definitely thank you for joining us for Financial Confidence. As we have these true money conversations, we want to hear from you. We want to hear your success stories. How are you doing? Send us an email at financialconfidence2020@gmail.com. Or if that doesn't work for you, you can always leave us a voicemail message. Call us at 470-236-8282. That's 470-236-8282.
Finances in a rut? Need a way out? Lynn Demmons is here to help. She's your personal financial rebound coach. Being a wife, mother, and educator, she understands the importance of controlling your finances and building generational wealth. She is here to help you find money you didn't know you had and live life on your terms. Sounds too good to be true? Well, it is true, and it's definitely a good thing. Lynn Demmons of Demmons Enterprise offers one-on-one coaching, group coaching, and radio podcasts entitled Financial Confidence God's Way on WYTV7 Christian Broadcasters Network. Lynn Demmons of Demmons Enterprise, your number one financial rebound coach.
The podcasting studio with us today, guys. Senior Pastor Cedric Allen. Cedric, how are you?
I'm doing well, great, Lynn. How about you?
I'm well. I appreciate you for joining us here so that we can have these true, courageous conversations on today in the midst of this climate that we're currently going through, helping to encourage and educate our listening audience. So before we get started, we want to definitely introduce you. Will you just do a quick introduction of yourself to the group? Let us know who you are, what you're doing out here in the world these days.
Well, I'll just say I'll be out here in the world on, except for going to the store, I guess, like most people.
Right.
And some other things, but my name is Cedric Allen. I am senior pastor for my own ministry, Be Real with God Ministries, which the whole deal is to help people know they have value and they have worth. And during this time, that's one of those things. Also, I do a lot of things with LinkedIn, so I'm a certified LinkedIn trainer. I also do career ministries or just really career coaching, but it all comes back to shepherding and making sure you are the people, the person that you want to be. So basically reminding a person that they have value and worth, because during these times, a lot of people don't think that, especially if you've been let go from a position or a career that you've grown to, because it can be like a marriage, and it also costs financial, especially if you feel you were let go, that, you know, it was not fair or something else has happened, or just like this, you know, you have some natural catastrophe or unnatural catastrophe happen, and now you have to figure out what to do with those funds and where you're going to be. And even for those that don't believe, you still have to deal with those consequences. So how do you help a person in that aspect? And that's
awesome. Well, we appreciate you for joining us, but we want our audience to learn a little bit more about you. Thinking back to your childhood, what was your relationship like with money growing up? Were there any, key factors that your mom or your dad taught you, or some key principles they taught you, or maybe some they didn't teach you, right, that you want to share with us?
I would think it would be it was a really big deal of a mix of both. It just depends who you're around. And the first thing I know for me, when I was coming up, parents handled all the money. And it's not like it was a lack of it. It was more of the parents handled the money And I think that sometimes can be detrimental, because when you're not ready, or that person's not ready to handle that, which was later in my life, a lot of things, and they were being honest, no, I don't think I can handle it. Listen to them, because there was somewhere in there that wasn't conveyed. And I a lot of aspects that became a problem in a way, but it sometimes leads to you not giving as much. And it didn't need to that to me, but it led to it just being, in my case, was a lot of overgiving to people and doing things, and just having, how do you deal with that? Because a lot of us, if we don't know and have the right focus, especially in the Christian aspect of how to focus money, how to trust in God, how to wisely spend it, and also invest with it. And that's was one of the things that if mom and dad are always handling the money and not really I wouldn't say dragging, but bringing that child into it to actually say, okay, this is this. Don't expect if you give them $100 that it's all going to stay there. And you're like, where's $100? I said, well, I did this, I did that. My case, one of the first times with money, I ended up something really dumb of giving quarters to people at arcade because they wanted to play a game. A loving spirit and do that, but you're spending all this money. But then you ask, and then you also think, depending on the family, it could be a private relationship where we believe, but we don't discuss it as much. So they play twofold in the aspect. So I gave quietly. I didn't let my left hand know my right hand what I'm doing, but in a way that could be a little detrimental. So it sounds weird, but that's how I look at it.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say weird, because I could say I can relate to that as well. Because a lot of the times in our homes, that's just the norm. The parents handle the funds. The kids, that was like, we were doing grown folks business right now. So you go, and do what you need to do. And that was the way that it was for many. So thinking about that, you did share about spending your quarters at the arcade, but I also want you to talk about your first job. Do you remember your first job that you had? And what was that?
Oh, that was going to be CNN. That was my first real job, working as, in a news company that big, where later on I got the Emmy Award for 9/11 coverage out of CNN Atlanta. You're learning in that aspect, the thing of budgets, but also that kind of job, and there's nothing really a difference between that. I'm going to say this in a way, but I've always seemed to be in those high pressure jobs, if it either was media news or right now ministry. Ironically, I joke with people, I tell them CNN only gave me 3 gray hairs. Ministry, family, and this whole other thing has given me more gray hairs than I would love to talk about.
Absolutely.
Handle money and the loss, and just a hard day. You're coming in from work. What do you do? How much money are you spending to relax? Is it okay, bucks, Netflix, go out to a movie theater, go see something to eat, get away from places? Are you flying around the world? Are you drinking? I'm going there. Are you having taken something else? Prescription, non-prescription, I'm going there. What are those things that are you using to rest, get away, beat the stress? And for those of us in that, or don't know Jesus Christ, because I didn't become a Christian until later on. I'm one of those saved twice people. So as a pastor, I understand that. So you go through worldly means and ways, or was it going to somewhere to just, I'll go to a Dave & Buster's, I'll play some games, or I'll go out drink, or I'll go out party somewhere, or I'll hit a trip? Or what are you spending your money on that you could be wisely investing on a lot of that on, and then also doing it in a smart way where, I think I'll hit my treadmill and get the gym and do that, or not be online as much, or what are those things? Because we're in a situation right now, you either are trapped in a hole or you're going to come out of the hole, and how are you doing?
Awesome. So in sharing that, your first job, well, let me just backtrack. Your first real job was CNN. What an amazing first job, because I know my first job was McDonald's, right? So just thinking about, that first paycheck that you received, what did you do with that first paycheck? Do you
Well,
remember?
at the time, I was doing something, and it's almost, if you ever read Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yeah.
And he thinks like I think. And my family, coming from that time, and the thing is, it wasn't a knock on the family or anything. I even remember asking my grandfather for advice on that. There are certain things where if I went this way, I could have got this out the way, because you have to know what kind of person you are. I don't really like debt. I like to pay it. But there's times where God has kept me in things, or things have kept that way, that those decisions of not paying off certain things as much and willing to take the sacrifice of saying, oh, I'm not going to eat as much, or I'm going to get to a thing and not do as much. If I would have did that a certain way, I would have been out of a certain thing and would have maintained a little bit better that debt and everything else. Ironically, because of my walk, and I'll say because of my walk and the fight I've been in, what I did with my check, I just, you did it with you paid your bills, you did your rent, everything else. That was one of the things when I had a very consistent job, or that kind of level, was consistency, even before the change of my life and becoming a Christian. Sometimes being a Christian can be, you change that faucet from hot and cold, the money cold sometimes. So maybe the money stays the same. It depends on the path God has us on. For me, at one point, I got to a point after going down into a dip and coming back up, that I got it to a point that I was going to pay off all my bills. To a point in 1 year, I had this plan, but then changes in life and everything else changed.
Absolutely, absolutely. So in thinking about that, I want to get to the point, you're talking about your changes in life. How do we mesh this together? So you shared earlier, Be Real with God Ministries, you're the senior pastor there, and you also shared about the career networking via LinkedIn. How did you get there? How did we mesh there together? How did those two things come about? Because those are two very different worlds.
We're very different worlds, but they're almost dealing with the same thing. I guess the key word would be shepherding. I think it is something you need in your life. Good shepherding, not accountability partners. I'm not a big fan of the word, because those accountability partners can sometimes lord it over you. And there's there's only one Lord, and that's Jesus Christ. And even God will tell you to do things that even will cost you some money things short term, that God's going, no, I need you to do this because this is going to open a door for you. And understanding people, please hear me in that. But there's also a thing of shepherding in your finances. There's shepherding in your life, your choices in, what you eat, where you live, all these other things. And taking that, as I was in transition, what was happening was this LinkedIn thing, which I knew about and I knew enough about, but some of the places you went to had no clue. And it's ironically, even now, I'm even talking to places that they have no clue. This whole thing of Zoom was something I did in 2006 with Adobe Connect. Same principle, same thing. But there were not a lot of shepherds in that. And the ones that were shepherds, just like anything else, I'm telling you this is going to happen. Like the prophets, I'm telling you it's going to happen. Jesus saying, this temple is going to go down here. No. And when it happens, you're like, oh, well, I've been telling you this for about 10 years. This was coming, or even a year ago with certain places. So as I was in transition, I noticed, and several other people noticed, that not everybody was giving people that it was like go to one place and they would stay at one place, and then they wouldn't know these other places they can go. And there was enough of a buffet. It was more like you were starving. So now, because of that, this has become a ministry. And people, and so I've had people hate me for saying career services is a ministry. I said, no, it actually is a ministry. And the thing we try to do with is remind people they have value and worth, to try to help people in this LinkedIn dynamic. I will be doing that coming up in the next couple of weeks with LinkedIn Online, and actually doing that and helping people in that aspect, because they need to understand this is going to change. One of the things I've already been knowing for 4 or 5 years now is coming down the pipe, that If you're not on LinkedIn, you're going to be, the applicant tracking system is going to be through LinkedIn now. They're going to move everything through there. Why? Because it's more effective. They understand what to do, and they're helping people that are in that field doing that. So it's been 4 or 5 years down the pipe that's happening. So this is how it's become a ministry, but it all goes back to shepherding. And who's the biggest shepherd? Jesus Christ. He took 12 guys. One he knew was crazy anyway. And it said, now you do it and you teach others. I think that's what we're doing here, Lynn. We're trying to teach others about how to do finances. As somebody who still struggles with that, and a lot of it is because, let's go there, it's a spiritual warfare. Sometimes it is. You know, you set it out, you put it in the seed and everything else, and you still got the same problem. And God's still saying, you're in the barren wilderness. And sometimes we get like Abraham. We go down to Egypt and we come back with some Hagars and some other things in our lives and some other things going on. But if we stick with him, we'll get through it. It's not always going to be, and for those that are always saying, well, it's going to be prosperity, I said, well, there's in other ways, but there are going to be some lean days. People are seeing lean days now, and they have plenty of money, what they feel now, but they're still concerned in the future about how much of that money is going to stay there. Because we're getting free money right now. We're getting all these loans right now. But you know, everything with loans, you're going to have to pay them back at some point. Anything with free, there is always a thing of not really being free. Where does that hit us? And it's not to scare people, but it's to realize, yeah, let's use wisdom. Let's not panic. We do have a God in this world.
I love that. So basically the message that I hear with that, guys, is we got to come out of this better than we went into the situation, right? If we think about it from that perspective, with all of those different tools and resources, but what about your future? So don't make the same mistakes, right, from your past. Don't carry your past over into the future. Let's learn from this opportunity. And I love the way that you position that you share that story. But as you're thinking about the conversations that you've had with others and how you are, you know, you said you told them about LinkedIn 5 years ago, or you were using Zoom back in 2006 with Adobe Connect. What are some of the reasons that you would say that people were resistant? And to this day, some of them continue to be resistant, right? They're sort of forced. They've been pushed, right? Over the edge now.
Yeah, I look at some of the things that have gone on, and this is going to be my fun part of it. I think God looked at all the arguing on both sides of the aisle and all these different places and what was going on, and decided to have us burp, change, put in our rooms down for a nap, and not come back until there was some repentance out of this thing, and not go into such, you know, even you still see people online that are so violent against each other still, and you're like, whoa, everybody calm down. I know you get a place too at times, a lot of times, but it doesn't mean you have to have a bad attitude against somebody because they don't agree with you and you don't agree with them on similar viewpoints. People are going to be devils, but come on, folks, let's calm down. I think that's why God said, time out, everybody to the room right now. Now, the other aspect of this during this time of just not getting into it, it's the same thing. We don't see a need for it, or we don't want to hear it, or we'll get not our big thing. It's not on our screen right now. Now it's on your screen, and you could have prepared for that. Right. Some of those of us that are preparation guys, when you work in news long enough, you learn how to dig for a story, and you also know how to prepare as much as possible for what I call the die-hard scenario, where everything goes crap, but we put the parameters enough that this is a backup plan, this is a backup plan, this is a backup plan. And to say, oh, we're not going to do this and that, and I'm still dealing with people who are still trying to get the hang of this, of, oops, I forgot this, and oops, I said, you need somebody there that's kind of already know how to do this. And then when you have that person with knowledge there, especially with LinkedIn and online and everything else, listen to them. There's a reason why you hired them. Learn your lesson from a guy named Ted Turner. Ted Turner started this whole cable news thing. He's the guy who brought you a war live as it was happening. Why? Because Ted Turner is a very smart guy, but he will tell you, his people will tell you, from Bob Fernard, all these guys that I've worked with in some way, that Ted Turner was smart enough to hire the smartest people and then let them do their job. Treat them fairly. It wasn't the best pay because they were starting out then, but then the perks, the everything else, the family thing of being involved. He did what, you know, you would do that. The same thing with Jerry Falwell Sr. did that. The great ones are the ones that are in there, understand enough to work with something and say, okay, here are smart people. Let them do the job. They know what they're talking about and then do it. And they're smart enough to hear and look for the next thing. This is why I tell people, when I said, some people say, what do you do? I said, build networks. Why? Because I was around the best of the best. I don't read history. I don't just read history. I make history. I do history.
Awesome. Awesome. I love that.
Wrestling commentator back in the WrestleMania days, early days, would say history being made. Well, the only way history is going to be made is two ways. One, you read history, and then two, you go out and make history. We have a lot of people that spend too much time reading history, and then other ones that don't want to make history. And then by the time it's done, it's history. We're sitting here waiting for the make history. Allow history to be made. So in a long story short of that, I know I'm going longer past my usual 2 minutes here of explanation. When you're dealing with LinkedIn, it's understanding the mentality and the reasoning and the thought process behind it. Not many people can explain it. And then the time window you give the people to do that. I usually do 2 hours. It goes past 2 hours because why? It takes a long time to do that. So when that is done, you got to be able to give them the cores that they need to do it. You can't do it in 45 minutes to an hour. It's got to be 2 to 3 hours. At the most, to give them a taste so they can understand it. And then the first part is always the part I go through the whole thing of foundational. And they go like, why we need it? I said, because it doesn't work without a rundown.
Awesome, awesome. So I love that. And I also want to say that while our listeners are in timeout, I love the way you position that. While they're in timeout, how can they find you, connect with you? Because you have some great information. And I know there's someone out there that wants to connect with you further to continue this conversation. So how do they do that?
Well, connect through me through LinkedIn on Cedrics Allen at linkedin.com. Just look up Cedric Allen. You will find me in the black suit and black set. I think it's the black shirt, the black blue tie, something like that. But find me on there. That is the easiest way to find me. I also have a company page. I'm still, even at this downtime, because I've been doing all this stuff that everybody else is now doing. I've been online and all this other thing. I'm still fixing half of this stuff. But the LinkedIn page is the easier thing to do. Don't go through the other thing. Just go directly through a message through LinkedIn. I'll talk to you, just everything else. Also, Career Club at the LinkedIn group there. I believe I gave you, your viewers the Career Club LinkedIn or the Career Club email, which I believe is Career Club. Off the top of my head, I'm just going to everything.
Career Club 30188
yes.
at gmail.com.
At gmail.com. I had to remember, did I flip it up or did I do something a little different with that one? But Career Club email works better as well, but LinkedIn first and then everything else. We do have a LinkedIn group that will get you in there and everything else. Show up for, we do Fridays at 10 a.m. Right now, Zoom for 2 hours, which I keep trying to stress to the great people at Apex. I'll give them a shout out, Apex Christian Singles Ministry, but it's not just singles. So when you come there, they're hosting it and everything else, but they're allowing us to do that. But here's the deal. We come there and try to help everybody in those 2 hours. If we don't at that time, we try to meet up. I rather do it face-to-face because you really need to get out the house. You really need to get out the thing. But because of what we're going here, we had to play it a little different. I wanted to at least keep the connection. and it allows everybody to kind of do something a little different. And then while you're at it, folks, here's a free tip. Here's a free thing. If you want to utilize LinkedIn and use it to its effectiveness, and figure out why this, group called Microsoft bought this thing for $26.2 billion. Go on to LinkedIn and then look up the thing that says learning, LinkedIn Learning, and it will give you a lot of learning courses that you can actually put on your profile, have on your profile after you're done. That says that it goes there. And LinkedIn will teach you and kind of test you on certain ones. They want to test me on LinkedIn. I'm kind of laughing at them because I said, no fair, you change this thing every week, every day. So no, that's funny that you want to do it. But LinkedIn Learning, great learning things. If you ever heard of the company called Lynda, LYNDA.com. Well, LinkedIn bought Lynda, and then now Microsoft has, it's been about 4 years, getting close to 5 of them being bought LinkedIn. So they are going to expand on it. They are going to make this thing go. I've just been trying to push everybody to kind of let them. I even talked to LinkedIn about, you should do the high schools. Now we have high schools shut down. Everybody's starting to go like, telling me this for a year, 5 years. So just hate to say I told you so. But the quote, Bobby Heenan, Ric Flair, and Mr. Perfect, I told you so.
Awesome. Well, we definitely appreciate you. And I have taken some of those courses on LinkedIn Learning, so I know exactly what you're talking about. And we appreciate you guys. Yes, go check it out. Make sure your profile site, go check out Cedric's profile. Maybe you can mirror his a little bit, get some tips, and check out the career networking group as well, guys. We appreciate you so much for joining us for Financial Confidence here on WYTV7 Christian Broadcasters Network. If this has been invaluable information for you, make sure you go over to WYTV7.org and leave a donation so we can continue to do what we're doing, guys. We're having courageous conversations over here, helping you to make your money, keep your money, and grow your money so you can do the things you're called to do. That's to build generational wealth and leave an inheritance for your children's children. No, we're not there yet, but we're working on it, guys. We want you to work on that too. Don't forget to contact us. Send us your success stories. How are you doing? financialconfidence2020@gmail.com. That's financialconfidence2020@gmail.com. I'm Lynn Demons. That's Demons, no demons here, y'all. DEMMONS. We appreciate you, and we'll see you next week. Have a good one.
Swing Into Their Dreams Foundation presents the Golf Tournament of the Year, raising scholarships for aspiring National Golf Club in Milton, Georgia. The inaugural HBCU Swing Into Their Dreams Charity Golf Tournament. Registration and gourmet continental breakfast begins at 8 a.m. and shotgun at 10 a.m. Award reception follows. Come enjoy a day of jazz, mimosa, cigars, cash bar, silent auction, and more. For more information, contact 770-686-7143. Don't miss it.